Hey, are you tired to create different application code source per each customer or tenant? Wasting money? Or creating multiple environments across different customers? The next architecture will help you unify all your customers' environment into having one and unique environment and source code, which is called the multi-tenant architecture. And now that I got your attention, I'm Alfonso Valdez from ClickIT, a nearshore DevOps and software development company that helps SaaS enterprises to augment or extend their DevOps and software development team through dedicated engineers. Now, I will walk you through the whole technical approach with a diagram and samples, as well as presenting a vital enterprise SaaS architecture utilizing Kubernetes, Amazon AKS, microservices, and a multi-tenancy technique, which the latter is essential to jumpstart into the enterprise SaaS world. Let's start. But hey, before I get started, I want you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and like to this video, so that way you can get more DevOps and cloud stories like this and you will get notified. So yeah, let's start. We will have two tenants, tenant 1 and tenant 2. That will be the approach for today's architecture. And all those tenants hits obviously to Route 53, which is the one to route the domain or the subdomain in this case. Then it will hit the CloudFront CDN service, which you know it holds or it clears all the static content from videos, image, CSS, or any even front-end application. Going more deeply into the stream, we will hit the application load balancer, which is the latest application LB from Amazon Web Services, and this can help you to offload any HTTPS requests and utilizing the AWS shared services like Certificate Manager, which is the Amazon Certificate Manager. Then the LB will route between the two ingress or namespaces, which I will detail later, inside the AKS cluster. This AKS cluster is a multi-tenant architecture, but going deeply to the database layer will be a single tenant database approach, which later on I will explain on that. Now let's talk about the SaaS network. As you know, as a best practice, Amazon requests you to have a public subnet and a private network. In the public subnet, we will hold the ALB, and in the private network, we will have the AKS cluster, the namespaces, microservices, and also we will have another private network which we'll call the databases. That's the best for creating an enterprise SaaS architecture. And in the left side, we will have all the AWS shared services, which are outside of the public and private network, but are in the AWS cloud, let's say that. So now guys, we will talk about the microservice architecture, which covers containers, Docker, and Amazon AKS. We will have 3 microservices. In this particular case, we will have 3 applications in one microservices, which will be the front end or application, the sign up, and the login. Then we will have the second microservice, which is the SaaS application per se, the whole ecosystem, and the admin dashboard, which is very common in SaaS architectures. This namespace will be mimicked to namespace 2 or tenant 2, namespace 3, 4, etc. Something very important to mention, that microservices brings a lot of benefit from flexibility, portability, speed to develop software. So it's imperative that besides adding an AKS cluster or using Amazon ECS, Fargate, or using other cloud provider, you must use microservices for your development, testing, production, and if you are really growing, using a content management system like AKS cluster. Content? No, container management system. The web stack that we will be using for this SaaS application will be Vue.js, and for all the backend development will be Node.js with Express framework. And all the microservices will be updated from the ECR, the container repository system from Amazon. And lastly, the login will interact with Cognito. So when you log in, you instead of creating your own login, you can integrate. You need an application, small application, and integrate it with Amazon Cognito, and this will bring some benefits to when you are developing software. So that's a good practice as well. So guys, let's move to multi-tenancy within Amazon AKS cluster. So we have tenant 1 and tenant 2, and every tenant will go to Nginx ingress controller and the ingress controller 2. Remember that every namespace should have its own Nginx controller. Now, how is isolated this environment? Well, that's why we have to configure in Kubernetes the namespaces 1, 2, 3, which are the ecosystem to isolate different tenants, which with the hand of the IAM roles, the pod security, and some other security roles will help you have a silo model, which that's the common label from Amazon Web Services, having an isolated environment per each tenant or namespace. Amazon Web Services have released an ALB controller service which will replace the Nginx controller. So it's been released a few months ago. We are in 2021 on June, but there is a ALB controller which will be a replacement from the Nginx ingress controller. But guys, this is a little bit complex. If you require an Azure DevOps engineer, just contact us at clickitech.com. Reach out and we will help you with a dedicated DevOps engineer in this particular case, or with all your SaaS architecture and DevOps practices. Now moving to the database multi-tenancy. As you know, we just explained the application multi-tenancy approach. Now is the time for the database layer workflow. As you can see, there won't be a multi-tenancy. In this case, we use it single tenancy for PostgreSQL tenant 1 and PostgreSQL tenant 2. These Postgres are inside an Amazon RDS, or it can be say those two databases. Every database, it's an isolated database called Amazon RDS, which have the PostgreSQL engine. This is important to mention why we did that, because there is sensitive data that can be living inside or in a single database. So imagine that again, that a tenant 1 access important data from tenant 2, and that can compromise with security regulations. So that's why the database or the data is very important, and we divide it per each database. There are some cons, obviously, more costs, more database management, but it's really required on this setup, and more if you're a fintech, banking, a security system. Probably you need to use a single multi-tenancy approach in the database layer. As an alternative, you could use for every tenant, or let's say a tenant ID, you could use in the same database per schema, per table, or even if you want to create a single table, use a table and identify it with a tenant ID. Well, that's which is very common. I see a lot of MVPs, startup or big SaaS that, hey, I need to modernize my tenancy, they usually are using in the same table, they are just identifying the tenant ID, which if it's a normal SaaS, probably it's not a problem. It's small, medium, but once you move to enterprise, you really need to take care of your data. So guys, now the funny part, how do we create new tenants? This requires a lot of DevOps expertise, which the way to orchestrate new tenants, it's composed in the next steps. And you will need code pipeline, Amazon code build, and Amazon Cloud Formation to create new tenants. And usually it starts with some scripting using those DevOps tools or tenant deployment tools. And as a first step, you will have to create the new subdomain for the tenant tree, from the tenant tree, which is using Route 53. Then you will have to create some entries in the ALB, obviously, because there will be a new tenant. Get a new namespace tree with the pertinent routes to the microservices. The microservices need to be updated from the ECR, which there will be a new tenant, a new microservices, and also update the AKS cluster per se. After the application layer, the template, or we are talking about infrastructure as code, guys. With CloudFormation, you will have to create an RDS environment for the namespace tree, and you will have the Amazon RDS tree or Postgres in the tenant tree. But don't forget as well that in NLB you will have to add the new domain. Probably you need to add a new certificate, and all these probably you will require Python scripting. Yeah, it sounds a little bit complex. There is another alternative, which is using an API, a RESTful API with Amazon API Gateway, Lambda, and under Python or Node.js. Since we are DevOps, we love working on Python. And yeah, that's the high level approach on how to create those tenants with our DevOps tools. So guys, we have concluded this video. What do you think? Have you learned how to create a multi-tenant architecture? I'm hoping that you understand now the pieces required to create a multi-tenant architecture, from the application layer and database layer, along with how to create a new tenant, which if you look in the network or in Google, it's complex to find out what are the missing pieces, which are just a few of them. And lastly, to find out more about how ClickIT helps SaaS enterprises run and develop DevOps practices in the cloud, or just curious about hiring an Azure software developer in your same time zone, please check out our website at clickitech.com. Please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and comment below any technology that I missed. Let's contribute to our network. Hasta la vista!